Touchdown passes last year. This one's knocked up. Bowers tips it to himself, and he'll score.
Snaps it anyway. Greer lobs it in the air. Whoa, he has trouble with the snap, and the ball is free. It's picked up by Michigan State's Jalen Watts-Jackson, and he scores on the last play. Here's a blitz, and Klubnik didn't see it coming. He got blasted by Kalen DeLoach, who has the ball and is heading toward the end zone.
What is going on, everyone? It is College Football Talk. I believe we are episode 65.
Yes.
As I look up on the top of my screen. We are back after another hiatus, but that's putting that on the back burner now. We are heading into summer now, so we're going to be coming out now. More episodes more often.
Yes.
Good news for everyone that follows along with the podcast. Make sure you guys are subscribing to the pod on YouTube at College Football Talk with Hunter and Dylan. Same thing on Spotify. Make sure you're adding the with Hunter and Dylan part at the end. Don't just type in College Football Talk.
There's plenty of college football talks out there. You got to be specific with us.
Yeah, it's kind of like we're like the Washington football team. You know, we're just
you got to be.
You got to have the full name until we come up with something better down the road. But for now, this is what you see is what you get. So, and that's fine. But we just had a draft happen in the NFL, so we're going to be talking about that. Some questions. How did our teams do? Which quarterbacks are going to be succeeding the most? Which ones are going to be busting, in our opinions? Which team had the best overall draft? And some other questions as well. And today we will be continuing on with our conference team tier list, with this time being the Big Ten. We did the SEC last episode. If you want to check that out, head on over to our last episode on this social platform. But today we'll be doing the Big Ten rankings. And without further ado, Dylan, do you have anything to say before we hop into it?
Nope, just excited. Let's get this. Let's get this, man.
All right, big time. So we will get on our way now with the Big Ten rankings. And so what we see here is we have Big Ten champ, contender, not your year, and no chance. We have 18 teams. We are going to talk and put the team where we best think that they belong in.
Yeah, and, absolutely.
So let's start with the Big Ten champs. And I don't think this list is going to be as big, maybe as what we thought maybe the SEC will be. Maybe that's just me. I think right off the bat, we can all both agree Ohio State's on there.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think the Buckeyes, what they have coming back this year with all, like on the defensive side, with, Tuamaloa coming back, Steele Chambers is coming back. You bring in guys like Caleb Downs, and, you're just going to have a rock solid defense, especially. And then on the offensive side, you bring in the new quarterback, Will Howard, but you also come in and bring in Quinton Junkins alongside Trevion Henderson coming back, Emeka Ibuka's back, a lot of weapons. The Buckeyes should be in prime position to make a run for the Big Ten title game. And unless they really, I think that as long as they stay out of their own way, they should be perfectly fine.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but I think there's only one team in the same realm as them currently. And I think it's the Oregon Ducks.
For sure. I would agree with that as well. If you want to pull up their schedule real quick, the Oregon schedule.
Yeah, I got you.
The Ducks, they recruit really well. They've done really well in the portal. They bring in bring in two quarterbacks. They bring in Dante Moore, who's going to be the backup, and then they bring in Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma and via UCF before that. So Dylan Gabriel's the final stop, and he will be the starter. Tez Johnson comes back. You're losing Bucky Irving, but you should be fine. The way they recruit, they'll be fine. They're bringing in Evan Stewart as well on the offensive side. The defense should be just fine. And Oregon's one of those teams. I think the only team really that's coming in from the Pac-12 that's physically going to be able to match up against some of these other tough, kind of like ground and pound kind of teams that the Big Ten usually presents. I think Oregon's going to be able to match up well. And I really think that they're not going to be kind of like shell shocked, maybe as some other teams might, at least on paper.
Yeah, and I think looking at their schedule too, I think they have one of the easier schedules in terms of who they get to play and where they have to go specifically. They do have to play both Ohio State and Michigan, but they get Ohio State in Eugene. The furthest west furthest east they have to travel is Purdue in Indiana. They have to go to Michigan, but it's not as bad. Just saying, I don't think this year's Michigan squad is going to be as good as the last couple of years. But they get Maryland at home. They get Washington at home. They get Michigan State at home. They have, for the most part, for a brand new team in the Big Ten, they have a very favorable schedule. They don't have to travel that far. The farthest game they have to travel is against a team who I think we both can agree isn't that great. And their first time playing Michigan will be a Michigan team that's going to be a lot depleted and kind of in a rebuilding phase.
Yes. Oh yeah, 100% agree. And that's why I think I'm a little cautious to put Michigan up in that Big Ten championship spot, just from all the experience they're losing. Now they are bringing some guys back, which is why I would put them at the third spot. I think they sneak in just because, they are bringing some experience back. I am a little cautious about the quarterback position with Alex Orji, just because he hasn't been the full-time starter, been that guy before. So, I mean, if he can kind of come in, settle things down, they got a big test early in the season against Texas, but I mean, if they can get over that, I know they go to Washington later on in that year, which will be a tough one. They don't get any favors. I'm going to pull up their schedule real quick. It's because they didn't get the benefit of the doubt this year as they have in prior years, which will be like the first time it feels like in a while that Michigan's kind of got tested. Almost. Do you? How are you liking that schedule? So, or do you think those are the three teams, or think we should add any more?
So the only thing I would put is I might actually drop Michigan to contender, not Big Ten champ, only because, as you said, they lost so much experience. They have a brand new coach who this is his first time being a full-time head coach outside of a couple interim stops for Michigan specifically. But, I think it's going to be a learning curve for them. And I don't think this year specifically they'll be on the same level as those other teams. Specifically, Ohio State and Oregon.
Looking at Michigan's schedule, obviously you have the big one at home against Texas. You have USC at home, and then you have you're at Washington. You go to Illinois. You get Oregon at home, and you go to Ohio State. So I mean, on paper you do get the tougher games at home, which is that's outside of the Washington game
and Ohio State.
Yeah, and they don't lose often at home, so maybe that carries over. But I think you're just going to have to see, will they be that kind of team that just kind of runs it down your throat with Donovan Edwards all game long, or are they going to have to trust Alex Orji to pass the ball? It's a new scheme, new fit with Sherrod Moore, and now as the full-time head coach. So it'll be interesting to see how they do. But I think they could be there. I mean, they've won the Big Ten, but through 2 years now in a row, 3 years.
Yeah.
So
3 years. Yeah, this is their third year straight.
Yeah. So I mean, I think you almost have to put them in there as by default, just from what, just because of how productive they've been with not even the most like high school like recruiting wise, like not even those like 5-star, 4-star kids. Like these are developed kids and making impact in big time games. So let's move down to contender list.
Yeah.
And I think from here you put Penn State.
Yep. I think Penn State fits there. They're just not on the same level. And I don't think they'll ever be, quite frankly.
I'm just a little weary about I know that it's just spring, but the Penn State game, the Penn State spring game really wasn't like as good as I hoped it would be for Drew Aller.
Yeah.
There was a lot of missed throws, a lot of where it's like you're in your second year now, new OC comes in from Kansas, and you're supposed to kind of be. I'm hoping to see improvement, and it's spring.
Yeah.
This is spring is the time for overreactions, get it all out. But I hope it changes, and I hope he comes out and plays well because the defense is going to be good, but can the offense be good? They bring in Julian Fleming on the outside. I know Lambert, their other receiver, is hitting the portal. So interesting, they are losing a guy, but they're still bringing back Nick Singleton, so they'll have a dynamic run game. But can Aller make that step? We saw against outside of teams of Ohio State and Michigan played really well.
Yeah.
But in the games that mattered, will he be able to step up? And I'm not sure, but Penn State's consistently one of those teams there's always there, but they're never able to get over the hump. Kind of like the Ole Miss of the Big Ten.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Who else do you think should be in this list?
I'm thinking, maybe I would put USC in there too, just because I think USC, for the most part, has a more favorable schedule. They're going to be, they get to kind of feed on some bottom feeders of the conference too.
I don't know. I just don't think they're still going to be physically stacked enough to where they're going to be able to match up against some of these teams, regardless of who they're playing. I mean, the defense, it's just kind of like Florida. I mean, they could go rattle off 8 or 9 wins, but unless the defense shows up, I'm not ready to say anything.
I don't know. I just think for the most part, they get to play Utah State, Wisconsin, Minnesota, Maryland, Rutgers, Nebraska, UCLA. They get some stinkers. And Rutgers, they get Rutgers at home.
If I were to, I would definitely put Wisconsin. I'm going to put Wisconsin.
I don't think Wisconsin's going to be good.
I think they're going to be good.
I don't think so.
You're getting Tyler Van Dyke coming in, who, if he can cut back on the turnovers, I think he'll be fine. I think second year under Phil Luongo and second year Luke Fickell.
Yeah.
Bring in the next recruiting class. You have an entire spring now. I think I'm optimistic. I was optimistic last year, and they kind of let me down. But this year's a new year, and I think Wisconsin is, especially you get Bama at home that second week, I believe. Yeah. They start third week, but then they have USC, but USC's never an intimidating place. And you have Purdue.
Yeah, I don't think USC is going to be the most intimidating place.
I just don't. I'm just worried that USC is not going to be. They're just not going to physically stack up against some of these teams, at least right now.
I think that's more of I don't think that's a real thing, if you know what I'm saying.
But I think it is, though. They were unable to stack up in the Pac-12.
Right, but against a lot of the Pac-12's better teams. You know what I mean? I just think a team
they were in dogfights with
Maryland and Rutgers. Yeah, but Maryland and Rutgers at times struggled with
Maryland was going.
Teams.
Yeah, they were going. I mean, Maryland was going stride for stride with Michigan usually. I mean, Loxley's I would take Maryland over USC right now.
That's crazy.
From a physical standpoint, I would take. I mean, USC starts with LSU. I think it's a loss. Michigan L.
Yeah.
Wisconsin L. Minnesota. I mean, it's at Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Penn State's an L. We'll give them a win against Minnesota. Maryland, I'll take the win, and it's at College Park in mid-October.
Mm-hmm.
Rutgers, you get them at home. Washington, never know. Nebraska, I think Nebraska wins.
You think Nebraska wins?
I think so.
That game's in LA too.
Well, again, that's not really. They don't have a home atmosphere, though.
It's not the home atmosphere. It's the travel.
Well, it depends on what time that game is.
I would
And
guess because it's homecoming for USC, so it's probably gonna be a night game for them.
well, if we're pulling up Nebraska's team schedule, I would put for right now. I put was USC, just not there yet.
Because I think they're better than
So
like. 'Cause I think there's a
Nebraska
lot of.
has
I've always thought the Big Ten is full of a lot more bad teams than the other conferences. Because
yeah,
Indiana,
but just from a physical standpoint
Mhm.
and from like weather related, because now I mean
yeah,
now they do luck out towards the back half of the schedule. They do have what's this? Four of their one, two, four of their final game, four of their five final games are in LA or in California. Their other one is in Seattle, so it's on that coast.
hmm
Now the Nebraska game, Nebraska has UCLA, but then they go on a bye before going to USC, so it's not going to be as big of an impact on them, I think, as it would be, say, if they were playing in Lincoln the week of and then had to go to LA.
hmm
I would.
Well, I think USC also has a bye week too for that game.
I just can't put USC there for right now. I don't know.
Okay. I also think you just don't like USC.
That's not true. I am not. Listen, I am not anti-USC on here. I am.
I think they had a lot of really good portal pickups. I really like their new freshman quarterback.
Yeah, and Mason
is
it Mason?
now.
Is it Mason Moore?
Yeah, played in the
Yeah, he played in the bowl game. Played really well. I mean, dominated.
Yeah.
But you saw with Caleb Williams, they win 8 games, 7 games.
Yeah, but
because that defense wasn't able to be stack up.
Yeah, but they fired everybody from the defensive side. Is my point. They fired the guys who did it. They brought in a bunch of guys from the portal. Like they brought in, they definitely committed tampering to do it. But they brought in guys who were on good defense. Like they brought in Greedy Vance from Florida State.
But will they be able to?
That's the question. Obviously, my thought process is you don't have to question if the offense will be good.
What about? All right, fine. We'll put them up here for you.
Okay.
Now, do we put Iowa in front of them? Is the better question.
I would, just because they're they won Big Ten West last year. They're obviously, I mean, their defense is so good that they're going to win games regardless every year. I think
we'll see. They bring in the new OC.
Yeah, I don't think in year one it's going to have that big of a difference, but I think it's Iowa football. They're gonna be in the hunt for 10 wins every single year with that defense.
For sure.
So you can't ever take them out of the contender spot.
Would you Iowa or USC? Who do you think?
Right now?
Yeah. Neutral site, let's say in Dallas, Texas. So it's indoors.
Probably Iowa.
Okay. Just glad we're on the same page there.
But I have to think because it depends on USC. Well, I mean, not really. I mean, USC could trot out a high school defense, and I would still think Iowa might not be able to score. But I don't know. I'm kind of mixed on that one. That's a tough question.
Watch Iowa come out and just put like 20. If they come out and put like 21 a game on anybody, they may be a playoff contender.
I don't think they could.
Thought about that?
But I don't think they legitimately could put 21 on like a FCS bottom feeder.
I don't know. Can you just imagine? But
at the same time, I don't think Georgia could put 30 on them. You know what I'm saying?
Georgia. Well, I mean, Tennessee put 35 on them in the bowl game.
Yeah, but it's in a bowl game, you got to kind of
Yeah, but that was with Nico starting. That wasn't even Joe Milton.
Right, but what I'm saying is even in a bowl game, you got to a lot of your better starters on defense. They're not.
Yeah, but it's Iowa. Iowa's probably not having a lot of dropouts. So.
I think they had a couple guys. I know
I think Georgia would still put up. Well, Cooper Jr. was hurt.
Yeah, he didn't play. That's a big difference.
Well, he was hurt.
That's our generation's Jackie Robinson. Come on.
All right, first of all, this is a family show, Dylan. Come on. Can't be starting up controversial topics.
Okay,
USC,
that's fine.
USC is a contender for the Big Ten. It's already controversial enough. So,
Okay, all right. We'll move on. We'll move on.
Are there any other teams we put in the contender spot? Does Maryland deserve a spot in there?
Yeah, why not? I mean,
Put them on the back end.
Yeah.
Does Nebraska up there?
No, not yet.
Let's look at the Cornhusker schedule.
They didn't even make a bowl game last year. Relax.
Listen, over under, I believe, is 8 wins, right? 7.5 wins right now. So, listen, actually, I mean, it's not a bad schedule. UTEP at home, Colorado at home, Northern Iowa at home. They get Illinois at home. Their first 4 games are all at home.
Yeah, their first 4 games are going to win all 4.
And then they go to Purdue, and then homecomings at home against Rutgers. Honestly, and then they have Indiana. So
they could win 7 games right there.
Yeah, I mean, and then the back half of the schedule is a little daunting, but at Ohio State,
that's the loss.
Then you get UCLA at home, and UCLA is just
I think UCLA is going to be bad.
They're not going to be good.
No, yeah.
You get USC. You have to go to USC, but off a bye, and it's not really a crazy matchup. You get Wisconsin at home, and then you go to Iowa. I mean, that's not a bad schedule. If everything plays right, if Dylan Iowa looked pretty solid in the spring game, I mean, if the defense is going to hold on to its end, as it usually does, if the offense can score and just not turn the football over as bad as they were last year, they can make a little noise. I'm going to put them in the back end.
Okay.
They're going to put them in.
That's fair.
I'm going to put them in over Maryland because Maryland's losing Tagovailoa. I know they have the one guy still there. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, but it's not the same.
But, they may win a couple games. But, I mean, Maryland always feels like they're not like where Penn State is as far as, like, they're just a hurdle over. But, like, Maryland's almost like breaking through walls. And if they can just get through this one last big wall, then they may have, like, a short hurdle before they can maybe get to where they really want to be. It's just they need to finally – they're always in it with, like, Ohio State and Michigan. Like, they've almost been more competitive against them than Penn State has recently, but they just either find a way to lose the game or they just find a way to blow the game. Yeah. So we're, like, losing, and I mean, like, they're trailing, but it's like a one-score game, and they keep getting chance after chance after chance to
they can't
capitalize, and they can't do it. So if they can find a way to do that, maybe that's kind of like the igniter that'll kind of get this thing going. Think back the Penn State season when they went to the Rose Bowl, and that was like it was the blocked kick. They were kind of struggling a little bit. They blocked the kick against Ohio State in the whiteout, and it just kind of slingshotted them forward, like a second half renaissance almost. Yeah, Maryland can kind of do something like that. Look out. All right, moving on. All right, so no more contenders in the Big Ten. So now we have not our year where let's just like you're almost a contender. You're gonna be a scrappy team, but you're just another year or two possibly. We're gonna start with Washington.
I agree completely there. Yeah,
you're losing.
You lose so much, and you lost your coach.
I think they are losing like 21 in starters. Like stupid like that. Now optimism wise, you bring in Jed Fish, who turned around Arizona, who was one of the worst programs in America for a couple of years. Yeah. And you retain what's his name?
I don't know who you're talking about right
now. Give me 1 second. One second. He transfers from Mississippi State. And this is an absolute shame that I don't know this, but 1 second, guys. Anyway, but Will Rogers. That is. I mean, he pretty much almost broke every single record in the SEC as a quarterback. But you get him, you keep him, because remember he transferred there towards the end of the season. But he didn't. He was initially going to enter the portal, comes back, so that's going to be his job. So maybe they can make a little noise. The lack of depth is really, I feel like, it's going to hurt them. Yeah, and you're losing all that either through the portal, draft, or whatever. I
Mhm.
just don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to be crazy bad. I just don't think eventually their depth's going to come back to get them, or they're
Mhm.
just not going to be physically able to stack up.
Yeah.
But you give them, I think, another year or two, and I think they should start to see some light.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, I agree there.
Rutgers,
Yeah, I put Rutgers just because
Shiano, and the boys.
I don't think Rutgers is really a threat to any of the top teams in the league, but they're still a step above like your Indianas, your Michigan State, your Northwestern, your Purdue. They're above those teams. They're gonna
Mhm.
beat down on those teams, but they're gonna get pummeled by absolutely everybody in front of them.
They may
If you
like
kind of get,
upset one or two, but then they're not
I
gonna.
don't even know if they'll upset them, but they'll
They could
be
upset one, or they probably have like at least one upset and from like the contender
yeah.
list.
They're weird because they're a team that might like one week play Oregon close, and then the next week lose by 40 to Ohio State. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then they'll like come out and just kind of stomp on like Nebraska for some reason at Nebraska
Yeah.
this year.
Hmm.
That'll be Rutgers for you,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm always for it with Shiano.
Mhm.
So
It's a lot better than what they used to be. So
yeah,
that's
trust
cool
me.
with me.
Well, I mean, how many? They had 8 or 9 wins this past year.
Yeah, I think they won 8 games after the bowl game. Yeah.
So I mean, from where Rutgers has been historically last
Hmm.
decade, I will give
It's a
Shiano
massive
and them.
improvement. Yeah.
Yes, I mean that's just been such an irrelevant football program that the fact that they're trying to see a little life, and that's some of these teams. It's like you've been so down for so many years. It's like if you can just
Hmm.
get a little bit of life, it doesn't have to be for some of these teams. It's like it doesn't have to be 10, 11 win seasons to be like step in
Yeah.
direction. Sometimes it's 6, 7, 8 wins is really good, and it's a good starting. Like again, a good igniter
Hmm.
to where these teams want to be.
Yeah.
All right. I think Illinois can be in there.
Yeah. I think they're in there. I just think they don't have the talent right now to
Yeah.
get better.
Again, like
But
the match. Remember how well they played against Penn State and then kind of lost
mhm.
it at the end last year.
Yeah.
It's kind of like similar with Rutgers. You're going to see a lot of fight, gritty team, but just they're not going to quit. But they just
Mhm.
won't. I don't think that eventually the better athlete's going to come out on top, and
Yeah.
that's just is what it is there.
That's just where they're at right now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a lot better state than again, similar to Rutgers. A couple years ago, Illinois was just a complete afterthought in the
Yeah.
entire like sport. Now that they're kind of in a better situation, I mean it's not where you want to be, but it's a lot better than what could be, right?
No, I mean Brett Bielema has done a great job there,
Hmm.
and so I think he'll continue to kind of keep that program afloat. I mean, they
Yeah.
kind of like a ceiling. Remember, was it last year, 2 years ago? Remember how I think they were ranked. They had like 6 or 7 wins, and then they kind of spiraled at the end.
Yeah.
So remember that because they were. Remember how like
They had like a
crazy of a
top
big.
cornerback.
Yeah, well,
Draft.
yeah,
Yeah.
they had Weatherspoon,
Yep. Yep.
but remember there was like a race for the Big Ten West. There was like 5
Mhm.
teams. Illinois had like all they had to do was not like blow it, and they blew it.
Mhm.
So,
Yep.
um,
So then I think what Iowa went to the championship game.
yeah, I think Northwestern will slide in here. Never that program was left for dead last year, and
Yeah.
they somehow kept it afloat and
Hmm.
had a pretty decent year for Northwestern standards, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it right there.
Hmm.
We put in the
And
other
then
teams.
I'm debating Minnesota mentally or
Mina.
not.
Did you rattle that off in like a Minnesota accent on purpose?
Oh yeah.
I saw. I am
So,
Minnesota.
so because I was just thinking in my head, I'm like, they still got uh I don't know if they're rowing the boat much these days, but I
they
still
they did just have a second round pick. Tyler
yeah.
Newman went to the Giants.
Hmm.
Shout out from town I used to live in. He's from there, so
Oh,
shout out
that's
there.
nice.
I used to play with his brother in Pee Wee football. Shout out there.
Nice.
Yeah.
But I think they're probably the best of the no chances.
Okay. From there, let's go Purdue,
Yep.
UCLA,
I would go
Indiana.
UCLA. I'd go
No,
UCLA
let's
first.
go Michigan State. I think
No.
yes, Jonathan Smith's going to turn that program around. They bring in Aiden Childs.
I think it's going to take longer than that, though, because that program has bad culture.
Well, I mean, at this point, you're in the no chance.
Yeah, and to me, I think UCLA still has some talent that Chip Kelly left behind that I would put over the edge, especially since Chip Kelly
Yeah.
really built more of a Big Ten style team. Like they have really good offensive linemen, and like I would still slut them above.
I mean, I think
Michigan
it's
State.
fine here just because you're splitting hairs.
Yeah, we're splitting hairs for sure. I think Michigan State is gonna be bad again.
Right, let's don't count.
I think that program is in a bad state right now. They need help.
A lot of the teams on the bottom of the barrel are. Isn't it funny how like these are all like the basketball powerhouses are on the bottom here?
Oh yeah,
in football.
All the basketball powerhouses, and then Minnesota.
There you go. So there is the Big Ten team rankings. I will post this picture on the socials and comment what you think. Of course, our opinions are always going to be superior, but that's not for me to tell you guys. You guys should just know that at this point. So, but let us know what you think. Agree to disagree. I'm always up for a debate.
Yep, me too.
All right. So these are the Big Ten rankings. We will be moving on now to draft questions as we kind of round out the episode here. But we got a couple draft questions, so we'll get rolling into that after a short water break. Oh, I've hit the 2-minute warning here. Is actually newly introduced, I believe, as a college football rule. It just got passed.
Yes, it did. Yep. Not a fan.
No, which means great more commercial breaks. That's what I love to see. Because as if CBS didn't have enough commercial breaks on their programs, let's throw in a few more.
At least we're getting the new game this year.
July 19th, I believe.
Yeah. I believe, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We already know who's going to dominate that.
Yeah. That league. Don't worry. Maybe we might even post updates in here.
There we go. We'll have like the leader. We got to have the ranking sheet.
Yeah. We could post the ranking. Maybe, anybody who wants to get involved, reach out to us, and we might, if we got open spots, I might even see if we can fit you in.
There you go. Comment your favorite team. And if it's taken, well, tough shit. So, excuse my language there. Anyway, we'll have to put the not for kids on this episode. All right, draft question time.
Yes.
As we get too off topic. Dylan, which quarterback from this class will succeed the most, in your opinion, and which quarterback will likely be the bust of the group? This can include any quarterback from round 1 to 7.
So I think the biggest success out the door, so like right away, I think it's probably going to end up being Caleb Williams, just because he's getting put into with Justin Fields, it wasn't a great situation because it wasn't built around him when he got there, but they've since gotten guys. They drafted, I mean, not the best, but relatively to the past couple years, pretty good. They got Rome Odunze, which is a great pickup for a first-year guy, to have another first-year guy, but one who's also really talented. They got some good guys. I think Caleb Williams is probably going to be the most successful, just because he's going to have so many, like, they're going to throw everything they can to help him succeed. They're going to give him every opportunity he can to be successful, and I think he's going to be able to take advantage of that.
And they already brought in Keenan Allen earlier in free agency. So, he's going to have weapons. And he already texted Iowa's most offensive juggernaut, Torrey Taylor, told him that he won't be punting much. So, kind of rude on his part for saying.
But to be fair, if you draft a punter in the 4th round, I mean, you got to give him a little crap, right? You got to mess with his ego.
Right. I'm gonna say, Drake Ney. Okay,
it was between those two for me too.
So I like Ney, and I like how the Patriots, this is a new regime.
Mhm.
No more Bill Belichick. We have
Yeah.
Gerard Mayo calling the shots.
Mhm.
You bring in Drake May, and who I believe was probably probably the most overall draft ready. Maybe him and Caleb Williams.
It's like 1A, 1B for me.
Yeah, but they bring in Jalen. They've also drafted Jalen Polk, who was
Mhm.
you take away Roman Dunze, who was like the star of the wide receiver class, the Washington group.
Yeah.
Jalen Polk right behind it, and then
Mhm.
Jalen McMillan.
Yeah.
But Polk, and then they also got
They got
Javon
Baker,
Javon
yeah, from
Baker,
UCF.
UCF.
Really underrated.
Yes, and so you're going to pick up him, and then they got
Mhm.
Jaheim Bell,
Yep.
who is a kind of like a Swiss Army knife tight end / wide receiver, can also run in the running back spot,
Mhm.
doing it all. So I like how the weapons they're setting up for May.
Yeah.
Giving him some options. I think they still have Devontae Parker too,
Mhm.
but this is going to be May's show, and I'm excited to see how he kind of gets acclimated. I don't think it's a
Mhm.
bad division to be in either.
Yeah.
I mean, the Jets are the Jets, Dolphins, but we'll see how he does.
Yeah.
I like Drake May. Bust wise, I think I'm gonna roll with McCarthy on this one, and this is no JJ McCarthy hate. You just don't understand why he's a
Mhm.
first round pick. I never got it. I thought it was really overhyped.
Yeah.
He's not a bad quarterback. I just don't think he's a first round quarterback. I saw somebody talked about how he's kind of like Mitchell Trubisky, same build, similar arm, but has to have kind of like the perfect scenario and
Yeah.
needs like the perfect kind of pocket per play to make the good throw. Otherwise, if you get him rushed, you kind of get him rattled some. Is
Mhm.
he still going to be able to make that play? I haven't seen it. I saw a lot of too much inconsistency sometimes when
Yeah.
he's been counted on. I think he only had like 300-yard games in total in his career.
Mhm.
He averaged, I think, just over 100 yards a game last year.
Yeah.
So I'm not buying it, and I hope he proves me wrong, but I'm just not buying it. He has a good. I don't think he's going to be the day one starter either. I think Darnold's going to be that starter, but I just
Mhm.
don't. I don't know. I just don't see.
Yeah.
Is that who
No.
you're thinking of, or who you got?
I was actually thinking I'd say I got to go Bo Nix.
Okay.
I think he's a little bit older now. He's 24, which
Mhm.
in quarterback ages, you got to kind of put it in perspective that Justin Herbert's 26 and he's on his fifth, sixth season now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want you to think about that real quick. This dude is old. In
How
terms of
about
quarterback, he's 24, and it's just to me, it's like I just don't think he's that guy.
I mean, Jaden Daniels was thrown to Brandon Ayuk
Hmm.
back in Arizona State.
Yeah, I think Jaden Daniel is a similar. I don't think Jaden. I have this. I'm not the highest on this quarterback draft class, to be honest with you. I think I could say that. I think there's two guys at the top, and then everybody else in the first round. I'm kind of like, I don't
Michael
know, guys.
Penix, a Siki honorable mention, only because I think he's a much better quarterback than McCarthy.
No, I think so too.
I just
I don't
think
think he's gonna play.
and so he's already 24.
Hmm.
By time, and they signed Kirk Cousins for a long-term deal.
Yeah.
So you give him all this money, and you expect Cousins to play for a couple more years. So, I mean, if by
Mhm.
time Michael Penix becomes the full-time starter, he could be 28 years old.
It's
He's gonna be
like
30 years old by the time he
Mhm.
starts.
I think the problem is everybody wants to be the Packers. Everybody wants to be the Packers. Not right now because the Packers. I don't know Jordan Love. We still got to get more of him to really figure out if he's the guy. But when they drafted Aaron Rodgers, while they still had a couple more years of Brett Favre, everybody wants to be that now, right?
Yeah.
They want to get that guy in the first round who they can sit and learn, and then he takes over. I think the problem is you normally don't draft 24-year-old quarterback who is dealing with multiple injuries already.
Mm-hmm.
Like you draft you draft the youngest guy possible who's a little
Yeah.
bit experimental.
Well,
It's like,
that's why.
okay, yeah, he could sit behind for a couple years. This guy, you sit behind for a couple years, and he's gonna be, the oldest guy on the team.
Well, that's why I was excited with I'm a Steeler fan. So,
hmm
they bring in Russell Wilson, they bring in Justin Fields, both
Yeah.
on 1-year deals. Well, at
Mhm.
least Wilson's going to be the starter. But
Yeah.
now you have Fields. You upgraded the line, and if
Mhm.
you want to re-sign Fields, you can probably get him on the cheaper end.
Yeah.
But he has an entire year now to just kind of sit,
Mm-hmm.
mature, develop, grow, instead
Yeah.
of being kind of thrown into the fire as he was
Mhm.
in Chicago.
Yeah.
So they got rid of Pickett like that, but and he's still relatively young, Fields.
Yeah.
So I like what they did there.
Mhm.
Yeah, I was completely
I
agree
just
with that.
I just think it's a really bad decision by the Falcons.
But they've
it's
been
a-
like that for years now in the draft.
they've been like that for years, and I think you can obviously tell that was not a universally agreed on decision either within the organization. From the way that we saw, when they showed the command room in Atlanta, and it looked like there was arguing going on after the pick was made, not a celebration. It makes me think, oh man, this is Kirk Cousins comes out and says, "I didn't expect it," and you're like, you didn't even tell the guy. What are we doing?
Yeah. But I mean the Falcons are like the team that plays Russian roulette before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't know what you're gonna get. So,
Yeah.
all right. We're gonna move on to the next question here. And that is the biggest steal of the draft, Dylan. Who is your biggest steal of the draft?
1 second. I want to make sure I get, because I had a couple guys on my list, but I want to only pick one because I want to make sure I don't steal one from you.
Oh, you're too kind.
Do you want to go first?
Sure. I think I got a couple. Brock Bowers falling to 13
That's a
to
good
the
one.
Raiders. I was a little surprised he fell that far. A lot of people
Mhm.
had maybe had him around maybe at pick 10, 9 through maybe 11 range.
Yeah.
But Raiders get him at 13. Raiders are going to get, everyone knows who Brock Bowers is. If you were complaining about the pick, you don't know ball, and you just told me you don't watch college football. You're one of those weirdos that just strictly watches the NFL. Kudos to you, but you don't know ball. So there's that. The Steelers getting Troy Fatanu at 20 without having to move up or not.
Yeah.
I mean, when Mel Kiper says really good things about it, you hit a slam dunk, and that's all I needed to hear when I saw that pick. 80 Mitchell falling to 50.
Yeah, that's good.
I believe. Where did he landed at? It wasn't the Panthers.
No, it was
Where did he land? Oh, the Colts.
yeah.
That's going to be a good
that's
one
a
because
really
because now that you give Anthony Richardson another weapon and you tack him along with Michael Pittman, that's going to be a good one.
yeah.
And I want to say, there were a couple.
Mm-hmm.
Kamari Lassiter falling to the Texans is a good one.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. The Steelers got Peyton Wilson in the late third round. The guy won the Buckus Award and the Ben and Arnick Award.
Yeah.
2 top defensive awards in college football, and fell all the way to 98. So, and he doesn't have an ACL in one of his legs. So, there you go. Shout out though to Cooper DeJean falling all the way down to the Eagles.
Yeah. Nice.
Shout out. And shout out to Jamal Charles. Can't read for crap. How he graduated or went to college is a great one.
Yeah.
On my part. Who are yours?
So I was thinking about a couple. I like Troy Franklin falling to the 4th round for Denver. I think that's a massive pickup for them.
He just needs to keep the drops in check.
Yeah, but getting him in the 4th round instead of waiting, I honestly thought he'd be a 2nd round guy, but there's a couple guys. Jermaine Burton, he slid a little bit. Obviously, it was because off the field issues, but still picking him up as late as they did, I still think it's a good pickup. He didn't have the yards at Bama, but of the guys last year, he was definitely the go-to guy.
Well, they didn't really have anybody else. So.
Yeah, but come on. Jaheim Bell falling to the 7th round for the Patriots is a nice snag for them. Oh no, you're good. You're good.
Oh, I was gonna say Cedric Van Pran Granger falling to the 5th round or the 6th round. no, 5th round to the Bills. Could be a sneaky center. They need they lose Mitch Morse. So now you bring in a big leader on the line. So that's a good one. Any other ones though for you?
Honestly, I mean, obviously flash my Florida State. So Keon Coleman being in the 2nd round for the Bills is a massive pickup for them. He slid a little bit because I mean there was up and down if you'd go 1st or 2nd round, but being able to grab him is massive for Buffalo because that's a day one. That's a guy who can take any contested catch, which is all Josh Allen likes to throw. So
there you go. There you go. Yeah.
So
if you can throw it down the field.
If you can throw it downfield, it's going to be next to another guy.
I trying to see if there's any other ones that were like relatively just kind of like high popping. Oh, gosh, I don't even know. But yeah, Chop Robinson's a good one. Pick up for Miami. But yeah. Those are our picks right there. Those are our steals.
Our biggest steals, yeah.
I'm sure there's more, but I can't remember off the top of my head. So. I did not really watch day 3. Kept up with it some. Sue me. Watched both the other 2. Okay. 7 hours of the draft, I can't keep up with something.
Yeah,
I have before, but not today.
Especially when they start bringing out like random people to pick them, like do the picks too.
Well, sometimes you get to like late 5th to 6th round, they're not even showing the pick. They're just they're just firing them off. I
just think it's funny in like the 3rd round when Sketch came out for the Houston's pick, and I was like, what?
By the way, that's a steal right there. Cade Stover.
Yeah, that was a good pick.
Reunites with CJ Stroud. So, gee, how mad CJ Stroud got when Ricky Pearsall went to the Niners. Yeah. He wanted him. Ricky Pearsall to the Niners now. Look out.
What
the Niners do with Debo and Brandon Ayuk was another question because they have listened to trades. I guess the Steelers were active, but they didn't. The Niners wanted too much, so we'll see.
Yeah.
If not, another weapon for Purdy.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. 2 biggest reach, Dylan. Who was the biggest reach? Michael Penix doesn't count in this one, so.
JJ McCarthy.
No, that's not even.
But it's true though. That's. I mean, other than that, I would say Jaden Daniels. Really? I don't think he was QB2. I think Drake May was QB2. And for Washington to pick Daniels over May just makes me go, man, that's a mistake. Because to me, you got one guy who is a little bit younger, has been good since his first day on the field, versus a guy who, let's be honest with ourselves, had one good year in college. The other years he struggled. He was up and down. We all thought he would get benched last year at LSU the year before he won the Heisman. But I mean, obviously he had a great year this year. But I think if you look at his whole career, it's like I don't know.
No, I mean, I think he's been overall decent. I'm gonna say, looking here. Let's see. I mean, Bo Nix at 12 was a little weird.
Yeah, that was especially when the Broncos were like, yeah, this was our plan all along.
Right?
Yeah, sure it was. Draft a 30-year-old man.
Honorable mention, JJ McCarthy. Ricky Pearsall at 31. I thought he was gonna be a day 2 or 3 guy. Or not day 3 guy. Like a round 2 or 3 guy. I was a little surprised when they picked him at 31. Not saying he's a bad receiver, but I'm just saying I don't think he's a first rounder.
The Niners got a style.
And just the Falcons in general, reaching on a lot of their picks. The Cowboys, Tyler Guyton in the first round. It's just kind of like a big bruiser at the offensive line spot.
Yeah.
I think he's a little heavy, though, for his position, so he's going to need to cut back. Otherwise, could be an issue there. But nothing too crazy. I thought it was actually a lot of teams, in my opinion, I thought had relatively good drafts. So
No, I think outside of like Atlanta and, Carolina, the two teams that, every year we have this conversation about them. But other than that, I think most teams did pretty good.
And that should lead us into the our next question. Which teams had the best drafts?
I really like Tampa's draft.
Tampa had a good draft.
I think well, because being a Bucks fan, it's always good to know what your team needs and to see your team go out and actually pick up what you need. Because you ever get that feeling that, like, oh my God, they're gonna pick a damn quarterback.
Yeah, right.
I had that feeling for Tampa in the third round. I was like, they're gonna make a dumb decision. They're gonna pick a quarterback, and then we're gonna get drama. But no, they stood fed. I mean, they grabbed McMillan, which was massive to me. That was a good pick. That was a really good pick. I really like Graham Barton. I mean, just more offensive line help is crazy too, because Tampa already has a pretty solid offensive line with like Wirfs, but to add more to that, to me, is just like, man, that's good. I'm trying to think who else had. I mean, your Steelers had a pretty good draft too.
Both the Pennsylvania teams had really good drafts.
Yeah, I like the Eagles had a good one too.
The Steelers just building the trenches, and they have a lot of young guns now. I mean, out with the old, in with the new. I said this earlier. The old stuff's not working. In with the new. You bring in Arthur Smith, the OC. What's he want to do? He wants to run you over. And now you got Najee Harris and Jalen Warren back there, who you've given a line who can actually block. Look out. Eagles pick up probably the best defensive back in the draft at 22. And then they get Cooper DeJean plus Jeremiah Trotter from Clemson. Yeah. Good draft there. Thought the Chargers had a good draft. You got Lad McConkey. They got Blake. No, Blake Corum went to the Rams. I get those other ones. Also, LA got Joe Alt.
I think the Colts had a really good draft too.
The Bears had a good one.
Bears, yeah. I think the big thing with the Bears is they, for the first time in franchise history, actually drafted what we expected and thought were the best picks universally for them.
Well, I think it was going to be interesting because I don't know if they were maybe planning on getting a Dunze at 9, whether or not maybe they thought the Falcons would go take him at 8, or if they would have gone like a defensive guy.
Yeah.
But, picking Penix, I mean, it leaves him with a free option. Of course you take him there.
Yeah. Dude, the Falcons are going to be so upset in like 2 years.
Yeah.
When
right.
Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze are like Pro Bowl, All-Pro guys playing well, and they're like still deciding if they want to keep another year of Kirk Cousins or if they're going to try out Michael Penix.
Right.
Man, what a horrible pick. I cannot get over that. How are you going to sign a guy long-term and then go, yeah, we're going to pick your replacement in the top 10 of the draft? I
mean, the only thing I can look at it, Cousins coming off the Achilles. Yeah. You do sign with a big deal, but you don't know how the Achilles will be. You then bring Penix in as a reliable backup, I guess, at this point, to be developed, and then if needed, he'll step in. So,
but
I don't.
Why would you give him such a massive deal then? If you feel like there is the risk of injury and that he needs like a really good backup, then I feel like you immediately don't go out and give him a big deal like they did.
I don't know. That's why I'm not making the decisions. So I'm just here talking about them.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. All right.
I think we kind of answered this one. This is our final question of rating our teams, Steelers fan, Bucks fan.
Yeah.
Overall, what would you grade your team?
I would give the Bucks an A. I would give them an A+. I give them an A. I think they went out and grabbed players at all the positions they needed help at. They got some depth. They, improved the line. Even in like the, undrafted guys, getting Deloach to me is massive for that linebacking core, especially since Bush is gone. But I think the Bucks is a fantastic draft, which they have been for the last couple of years, though. I feel like.
Steelers A+. I just, you get Fatanu, you got Zach Frazier, you get Roman Wilson, you got Peyton Wilson. They got a guy last name Watts in the 6th round from Texas. You got You got a 300-pound offensive guard from South Dakota State,
Yep.
McCormick. And they go undrafted free agents. They got Deshaun Edwards from Georgia.
Mhm.
Love me some Deshaun. And you got Beanie Bishop, cornerback from West Virginia. John Rice Plumlee, UCF legend. I've already told Dylan to hold off on the jersey buy already. Wait till he makes the team. But just saying. But yeah, A+. I'm really excited. I'm not like one of these crazy fans saying like they're Super Bowl contenders now. I still need to see what they got at the quarterback spot. But offensive line wise, I'm excited because I think they're finally being able to run the football more effectively throughout the entire season instead of just like making it like the last couple games of the year. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, absolutely.
Any other final comments before we round out today's episode?
I think I got everything off my chest.
Yeah.
But in minutes, I talked football, really.
Yeah. We love talking football. Talking ball, baby. Talking ball. As we're talking about this, Knights and Stars games on TV to the side here. Heading into overtime, it is about 2 a.m. on the East Coast, and the Knights and Stars are hitting off on overtime. This is what you love to see in playoff hockey.
Oh, yeah.
But as far as football goes, we are done here with this episode of College Football Talk.
Yeah.
Like we said at the beginning of the episode, should be coming out and being more productive with episodes coming out. So look for an episode to be dropping next week, hopefully, if everything works out well. But
if everything works well, yeah, we should.
Yes. But for this episode, make sure you guys are subscribing, watching, liking the videos, and sharing as well, like we know you always do.
Yeah.
For Hunter and Dylan, this is College Football Talk. We'll see you next time.
See you next time, guys. See ya.